Well, welcome, Kev. Thank you for such a powerful message on Let's Go with Deep Trust.
Thanks, Ash. Yeah, good to chat about that. It's a big topic, I reckon.
Huge.
When it's interesting where you think I can have trust, but what does it mean to have deep trust? What does that actually mean? I think it's a good thing for us to explore, actually.
Yeah, that's right. And I imagine there would have been a lot going on for you as you prepared the message for the week.
It was. It was interesting. Right at the end, I mean, if you've seen the message, I kind of landed at those kind of 21 points of what does it look like to trust, or what if we're going to say let's go with deep trust, well, what is actually trust?
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's one of those words we can talk lots and hear lots, and it kind of rolls off our tongue. It's got to trust more or whatever, but what are we actually trusting in?
That's
and we can make a simple kind of statement to go, oh, I'm trusting in Jesus, or I'm trusting in God. But then when I just kind of, it's funny, it's just like I wrote them out one after the other. Just those points to go, this is what I'm trusting in.
That's right.
You know, that who Jesus is, who I am in him, my identity, my salvation, his provision, that he's drawing people to himself, that he wants people to be saved, that he goes before us, that he gives us all of that stuff. It was really good for me to kind of unpack that and go, okay, so if I believe all that that's what I trust in, well, how does that actually look different in my life? Yeah.
That's right. And it's so foundational, that deep trust. And we can easily just say it, like you said.
Yeah.
But to actually act it out and play it out is a whole nother level. And so thank you for unpacking that a little bit for us today. And we'll look at it a bit further now when we just have a bit of a conversation about that.
What was going on for you today, just listening to that message?
I was very aware of times when, even this morning before the service, where I could have taken a courageous step and I didn't. And I wanted to look into that a bit more. I want to know why I didn't take that step. When I say I trust God, and I do trust God, but how do I take that to the next level so that when the opportunity arises, I can take that next step, that courageous step, and offer that opportunity for someone to have a faith conversation with me. And that's pretty
big,
crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
It's funny, it shouldn't be big, but I don't know.
No, and it's such a big part of our world too, our faith, our identity in Jesus. So it should flavour our conversations with people.
Yeah, that's right. So it's good. So it'd be good to unpack that, because I think that was a word I think that is in season for us. Like, what does it look like to have really deep trust?
Yeah, and so what does it look like to lean in and build that deep trust for you?
I think that's a good question, because it doesn't just happen, right? And I think even in home groups, it'd be great to kind of workshop, how do we do that? How do we actually build and integrate a deep trust into our life? And I think it probably, for me, it comes back to that call to follow that I was talking about. I think that's the enemy just cuts that off all the time. And I just know when I am intentional of a morning, just to grab like one of the Bible passages that are there, and read that and do a soap journal on it. I think that's one of the most fruitful times that God speaks.
Yeah.
And then you've probably heard me say before, because I've said it, like even just a prayer walk, just a short prayer walk of a morning, it doesn't have to be long. That's a rich time. Probably those two things right there really help me to dig deeper in trusting God. I think I'm more aware that he's working in my life. The truth that I'm engaging in is integrated more just by that little journal. It doesn't take long, but it's been good for me to do some things like that, to actually take me deeper in trust. And I don't think we ever get to the depth of that either.
There's so much growth.
But I know I just want to keep growing in that so that I can be more courageous.
Yeah, that's right. And having those practices that you step into gives God an opportunity to speak into your life. And you might spend that time in the morning reading a passage from the Bible reading plan or going on your prayer walk, but God can continue to speak to you throughout your day. You can reflect back on that. He can bring that back to your mind and recreate that posture. And that's what's so powerful about creating those little pockets of space for God to strengthen that trust in him.
Yeah, right throughout our day. I think awareness, I mentioned that briefly, just awareness of God in our life and aware of the people that are around us. Those two things I think are really significant. If we just saw people around us
Yeah.
and lifted our awareness even at home group to be praying for people that may be around us, or conversations we may have had, to kind of lift that. Like, it's been interesting since just talking about this for the last, I don't know, couple of months. My awareness has increased significantly.
Yeah.
And I just want to be more courageous in that
Yeah.
space.
And you said those people in our lives that don't know Jesus yet, like, they're depending on us to step
Yeah.
out. So we want to foster and create space within us to be aware, to step into those spaces, because God's counting on us.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's like we are God's plan A
Yeah.
for getting the message out.
Crazy.
Like, he's done the work.
Yeah.
You know, he entered this world fully God and fully man, gave his life, you know, trained 12 people, like,
Yeah.
12, started a movement,
Yeah.
and the church, his people, you and me, like I said, that just nobodies.
Yeah.
Like it referred to
Nothing
Abraham.
special.
Yep. We're his plan A in getting the message out there. Like, you know, like sometimes you can think, I don't know, a large group of people, oh, someone else is going to do that. Like, even at home, like, you just hope someone else is going to do the washing up.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
someone else will do that.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we can't have that thought process when we're talking about getting the message out or just having faith conversations, that someone else will do that.
No,
Because it's not just for people that have a gift of evangelism. They do a great job at that.
they do.
We can all just be genuinely us and be brave enough to have a conversation. So we're his plan A. He's given us that message of reconciliation. That's no plan B.
No.
And so for us to embrace that is going to take deep trust and courageous steps.
Yeah. And I think too, there's also an element of it's a muscle to be strengthened.
It's a good
So
perspective.
we may not be used to stepping out courageously or having those conversations, and it can be so daunting, but it is a muscle that we can continue to strengthen and practice and use until it comes to a point where it's way more natural for us, if it feels foreign, to step out into those spaces and invite people into a faith conversation.
Yeah.
It was like you said, you wanted to speak to that lady and ask her what is the meaning of the cross for her when she wears it. And you didn't, because it can be so foreign, and we can feel uncomfortable in that. So we want to get to a space where we just step out and we just have those conversations and we trust God to lead us.
Yeah, simple question. What's interesting, I think you're right, it is like a muscle, and so we want to train in that.
That's right.
It's interesting, in our discipleship strategy, we talk about practices that we can have. And so to almost understand, even for us, it'd be interesting to go, well, we just want to be us, right? So what's normal language that we would use in talking with someone, and actually find what that is for us, and it can be different. Like, it's not a formula. It's not a formula at all. It's like language that's just you, that you feel comfortable in asking or just having a conversation or a prompt, and then just practice it and practice it and practice it.
That's right.
Like, I love it when I'm kind of connecting with people, whether it's even coaching or mentoring, and someone doesn't have a faith, and at some appropriate time it kind of lands there in some point. And I just even love in that situation just saying, tell me about your faith story. It's such an open question.
Yeah.
I've noticed that everybody has a faith story
That's right. Yeah.
of some kind. Like, I went to church as a kid, or I went to a Catholic church, or my auntie or uncle are Christian people, or sometimes
Scripture
there's
at school.
some really bad stories.
Yeah.
But everybody's got a faith story
That's right.
in some kind, and so that's some language that's been good for me. I just think it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
it's
And
good.
everyone has their own unique way of communicating as well.
Yeah.
So I would feel so uncomfortable in the way that Pete steps out, and so boldly and so encouragingly, but that would be such a step for me.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways that I can be authentically me
Yes.
in the way that I share Jesus with them
Yeah.
in just a normal everyday life way.
Yeah, and just normal conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good to workshop in home groups. Like,
Yeah.
what's language that could connect with people that's not weird,
Yeah.
that it doesn't put people off, it's not awkward,
Yeah.
it's not trying to put any pressure on anyone, or like, let's just get rid of all of that
Yeah.
and just be as genuine as we can be.
That's right.
And like, that'd be interesting to go, well, how would we do that? What language works for you? What has worked previously? Because I think we could pick up on a few language points and go, actually, that's something I could do. Yeah, I think when we get a picture of seeing it in action, we go, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, and when we do that, what's the outcome of that? what's the fruit from stepping out in deep trust of God, of taking those courageous steps? Have you experienced?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if you remember when I was preaching today, I spoke about that concept of how many people would be in a Sunday gathering that don't have a faith. And I think someone from the congregation said 2%. They picked it.
Yeah.
And at best, or probably is 2%, could be. So, but then the question, how many people that we kind of connect with midweek in all kinds of different ways, work, school, home, whatever, someone mentioned 95%.
Yeah.
Now, they're probably pretty close to right, I would reckon.
Yeah, I
And
think
so the outcome, I think, for us, engaging with God in our fellowship, building a deep trust, and some of that is when we gather together, right? So we encourage one another.
That's
like,
right.
so when the church gathers, I want people to walk away feeling like, with God I can do this, in whatever's before them. Like for us to be missional, even just to do life well, whatever, even to parent well, whatever, that with God I can do this as an encouragement. And my hope is that if we can be brave enough just to be genuinely us and trust God that He is working and He's using us to have faith conversations, that in that midweek go places, in that 95%, that's where we will see our growth come from.
Yeah.
That's where we will see people come to faith. That's where we'll see people come into the family of God. That's our growth point.
That's right. Yeah.
And so that's my hope. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I want to bring faith to. I am excited about that.
Yeah.
But it means we've got to just change our ways, change our perspective, lift our awareness, and just be genuinely just Christ followers. Just be the church.
Yeah.
Be the
right.
hope, be the love, be the person that has a positive perspective, be the person that is brave enough to step over that chicken line and just have a conversation with someone and just see what God does with that. The times that I do that, I'm so encouraged. It just reminds me when I do have a conversation with someone that people are happy to chat and that God's at work.
That's right.
It's great. So I love that. So that's my hope, that we can go deeper in trust legitimately, step out in courage, and actually see people come to faith. And it's not about the win is people coming to faith, right? It's not about even people coming to one of our gatherings. That'll probably happen in time, or it could be in a home church or home group, but just to see people come to faith and to declare that in baptism.
That's right.
That's my hope, because that's a solid decision when you display that publicly. So that's my hope.
Yeah. And that outcome might feel like a far away vision, but God calls us to do this journey together as a community and to nut this out together and to work through the crunchy pieces of conversation and what does this look like. And that's what you're asking us to step into in our home groups, in our family groups, with our kids, whoever's in that space, is to have that conversation. What does it look like for us to deeply trust God? And what does it look like for us to take that courageous step? And how can we engage in that as a family, as a community?
Yeah. It's really cool. So I'm looking forward to what's ahead.
Me too.
It's good.
Yeah.
Ash, thanks for joining me here.
No worries.
It's
You're
great.
welcome.
I love the way you think. I love the way you lean in and the way you and Ro live your life. And you're just doing that. So thanks for what you do. And so it'd be great to kind of chat that through home groups this week, or just to be thinking about that and lift our awareness and just see what God does with even that. So Ash, you've done great today, leading the service, joining me here. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.